Here with senior investigative reporter Mark Flatten, who's been covering the VA scandal. I mean, you've been covering the VA for years. So when this scandal popped up, you had an extensive knowledge. Now we're talking about the new leadership that's supposed to take the VA into the future beyond this scandal. And really the first confirmation hearing is this week.
Yes, the VA has been going through a series of scandals. It started with wild, rampant spending. It got into a long backlog of disability claims. And ultimately what we're talking about now is long waits veterans face seeking health care. The latest scandal cost former VA Secretary Eric Shinseki his job back in May. Today, or this week, the new nominee, President Obama's nominee to be the new permanent secretary, a gentleman named Bob McDonald, comes before the Senate Veterans Committee for his first confirmation hearing. McDonald's an outsider, and that's going to be a big advantage for him because he's not tied to this whole series of scandals that have plagued the VA in recent years. He's a former CEO of Procter & Gamble, West Point graduate, former Army Ranger. At this point, there really hasn't been any hint of opposition surfacing. We'll have to see if something comes out in the hearings, though.
But it will be a sensitive position, a sensitive post to get beyond this massive, very, very public scandal. And it seems as though he does have the management experience to perhaps pull that off.
It's a huge undertaking. Bear in mind, this is the largest civilian agency in the federal government. He's coming in literally at a time when the credibility of the agency, the confidence in the agency, and quite frankly, the competence of the agency is in complete rubble. He's seen as sort of a fresh face, a new reformer, and there's been a lot of positive talk from both Republicans and Democrats about his nomination.
So you think that is ultimately a benefit? It's coming in as an outsider. You don't necessarily have institutional knowledge, but when the institution itself is breaking down, perhaps that's a good thing.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, what we've seen is that there has been what the Inspector General calls the systemic falsification of records at VA. So it would have been very difficult to reach into that management pool and pull someone up there and expect them to restore any credibility within the agency. So President Obama almost had to get an outsider who is not tainted by not just sort of local scandals, but this went all the way to the top. That's going to leave him with his second problem, which is finding who you can trust in that agency, because ultimately he is going to have to rebuild that bureaucracy. It is moving fairly quickly in Washington time. The hearing this week will certainly give us an indication of whether there's going to be any kind of serious opposition to his nomination. Thus far, I haven't heard any complaints either from members of Congress, from people in the veteran service community. So there does seem to be a lot of hope in Bob McDonald at this point.
Senior investigative reporter Mark Flatten with extensive knowledge of the VA and the Veterans Affairs scandal. For WashingtonExaminer.com, I'm Ed Sykes.